So I've got a series of slides initially, just to cover what's changed, largely what's changed from the version 2 to the new release version 3, but also just a quick introduction for people who are new to P2R Projector. And then we'll jump in and do a demo, which will last for hopefully around about half an hour, and round up with the Q&A session. So we've got a fair crowd today, so probably best if everyone kind of stays on mute, and then we'll open it up towards the QA towards the end. Sorry? No? Okay, I'll charge ahead. So just a quick refresher on the key concepts. So for those new to P2R Projector, so why does this thing even exist? So you're well aware, there's a large investment in natural resource management projects in the Reef. So 25 to 50 million a year, and most of these are management practice adoption style projects. So the point of P2R Projector is to support the design of projects for that investment. So it's to help those project administrators answer questions about which projects give the best water quality outcomes, how might a project be modified to get better water quality outcomes, or even to trade off sort of alternative projects. And then there's some secondary uses which are emerging. Is about kind of supporting the preparation of grant funding applications, sort of preemptively putting together collections of projects, and then to be able to report on projects that have been implemented. So to be able to submit the collection of different projects for annual reporting, and then levels of interoperability with principally with Collector app, or even just with spatial files, to be able to import spatial files of farms and then create management practice adoption projects around those. So some kind of key concepts about P2R Projector and how it works. First port of call really is to go to the website, p2rprojector.net.au. So that's been kind of newly generated as part of this release. So it's got a fair bit more, well, it's got some content there about how it works, and about 15 different videos on how to do things, and some FAQs about commonly asked questions. The P2R Projector, it's curated by Office of Great Barrier Reef. So ultimately, Adam Northey is the app administrator, and he gets to create groups, nominate the administrators of those groups, and then those administrators then get to invite members. And what works then at a group level, you've got members within a group, and you can be a member of multiple groups, but a member within a group can see and deal with all the data that's going on within that group. And within a group, we have this idea of collections. So think about it like a shapefile, or even just a folder. And those collections are collections of projects. And then each project really has two parts to it. It's got a practice change survey, and it's got the spatial representation, so drawn on a map, the polygon that represents where that practice change is taking place. So these slides I've sent to Billy, so if anyone wants a copy of them, just sing out and can circulate them. So just to reiterate, kind of the most important thing here is when you need a new group, Adam's the guy to contact. Adam goes through the process of creating a group and then inviting that group administrator. We create effectively an unverified account. That admin gets an email, which once they click on the link to register, the account's verified, and then they can log in, they can invite users, and they can use the app. So there's that kind of preemptive process to get set up, really, and Adam's the gatekeeper here. So what's happened now from this new release version, which was released on the 15th of February, a couple of weeks ago? There's collectively some speed, stability, and support related activities. So the app's effectively been entirely rebuilt. in a new language, a new back end. It looks largely the same for you guys, but from our end, it will help us deal with kind of the growing volume of data that's going in there, so it's speedier. There's some functionality related things, and we'll step through these when we get in and show the demo on the app. So interaction between the map and the table, being able to manage projects a bit more easily, and better support for importing spatial files. But the core functionality, so the things that are numerical components that have changed. So there's been a cane industry update, and I'll step through each of these three in a bit more detail now. So the cane industry update to reflect delivery to stream. So the previous version had just effectively load delivery to the paddock edge, and there was no attenuation between the paddock edge and the stream. So effectively attenuation component in there. There's delivery to Reef now, so the reported values now across any industry is the load reported to the Reef. And we've got functionality here about submitting collections. So you can share collections of projects between groups by nominating a parent group. So let's just talk quickly about that, the cane industry update. So represent that sort of diagrammatically. If this is our project block, what we were previously doing was reporting delivery to the paddock edge. Now there's been attenuation added to give us a delivery to stream. And also as part of this update, we also have attenuation to report overall the delivery to the Reef. So all the existing collections that were in P2R Projector are still in there. And when you open any of those collections, you'll get a pop-up, this pop-up. You can download those files. You can click Do It Later, which will just allow you to interact in read-only mode with that previous collection, so you can see the previous result. You can't edit the changes. Or you press Recalculate, and it reapplies the computation to apply the delivery to the stream and the delivery to Reef. Now, small collections, they're reasonably quick, sort of 10 to 30 seconds, but big collections, they might take several minutes to run through. So rather than transition everything, and there's a whole bunch of archive elements in there, so any old collection or any previous collection that you want to go back into, you'll get this pop-up. You can investigate it without having to wait for it to transition by clicking the Do It Later. But if you want to update or add to that collection, you want to hit the Recalculate, and it'll bring it into the version 3 form. So the delivery to Reef component. So while we've added that, this is principally for upcoming industry, so grain and grazing, upcoming. So these activities tend to happen further up the catchment. So you can see from these charts so that the dark color represents effectively a delivery ratio of 1. So whatever gets generated to the stream effectively goes to, is reported as delivered to Reef. And you'll see, particularly for fine sediment, once we get up the catchment here, there's a fair bit of attenuation and trapping going on, which is why we've got that delivery to Reef component in there now. So quickly about how the basic computational procedure works here, or how the app works. So we create a project collection, then we create a project within the collection. We do a practice change survey representing what the current practice is and what we're proposing to change it to. We draw that project on a map. Some magic happens and we get a predicted water quality change through that practice change. So underlying that, the practice change survey effectively gets converted into what we call a code, paddock modeling code. The spatial representation we intersect with underlying soil layer, a climate and region layer, combine these things together to ultimately get codes to look up from a series of paddock modeling simulations. And so this table is a representation of what that might look like, a column being a collection of practice changes, and a row representing a region, a climate, a soil type, and a constituent, and we get a representative kind of yield that goes along with that. And now we've got the additional component that for that yield, we also then scale it by a delivery ratio to give us a yield at a reef. So what those overlays look like, they're a bit confusing. So the user doesn't get to see those intersections, but what's going on in the background, we can see we've got a collection of projects going on down here. We intersect that with an underlying soils layer, and those projects get split into sub blocks, if you like, for the relative to the different soil types. Then we intersect it with a climate and region layer, so there's specific simulations for each region, and then within that region, there can be differentiation between kind of high, medium, and low rainfall areas. And then we apply a delivery ratio intersection. So these ones are all near the coast. The delivery ratio is the same here across all of these sub-catchments, delivery ratio of 1. Okay. So just to reiterate that project upgrade process, click on any of your existing collections and you'll get this pop up, and follow your nose through that process. So then the third major aspect that'll be new to users is being able to submit collections. So as Adam, as the overall app administrator, he creates groups. He can also nominate for those groups who the parents of those groups might be. And once you've got those nominated parents, you can submit collections to those parents. So the idea is that you've got within your group lots of different collections that you might be working on, and then at some point you want to submit that. So for example, you want to submit that to Adam for annual reporting purposes. And so the process for that, if we've got collection 2 that we want to submit to the parent group, once you click the submit process, there'll be a read-only copy in the submitted to me that Adam will see, and then a read-only copy will be stored in your group as well. So you've got a local record of what's been submitted. And what that looks like in terms of the app now, in terms of your collections, you have your active collections. So this is all the things that you're familiar with, the ones that you can actively work on. And then you've got the submitted collections and ones submitted to you. So I'll skip through these. So I'll just put these slides in so that when we send those slides around, you can see, have some reference there. So we're going to jump in and run through a demo now and work through kind of each of those functionalities and show you what it looks like. But before I leave these slides, so in anticipation of what's coming up next, so we're in the process of implementing the grain industry. The banana industry will be updated soon as well, and then following that will be the grazing industry. So if any of this is confusing or you get stuck anywhere, all you really need to know is that email address. So contact@truey.com. If you send any query to that, Adam will receive that, as well as myself, as well as support staff at Truey, to be able to help you through any dramas. So let's have a quick look at the app. So first of all, we've got landing pages now. So there's an overall landing page, and then it's a series of support pages with a bit more content. So descriptions about how the thing works and links to the underlying modeling that's used within the app. A series of FAQs, and the intention is I'll grow these over time. So if we get any kind of common queries that come up, I can add them in here. So we kind of have a collective growing knowledge base from users. And there's about 15 or so videos in here as well for all the common activities within P2R Projector. So if you're stuck, have a look at that website, FAQs and the videos. So let's jump into the app. In fact, I'll log out and we'll start again from the login page. So go to the login. We get this pop-up now so before you proceed, you've got to accept this. It's to note that this is a decision support tool. We're not modeling exactly your farm. They're representative values. So as a new user, you come in, it'll effectively look like this. Let me zoom back out. I'm just scrolling on the mouse here. So this is the domain over which the tool works, all those catchments contributing to the reef. So the first thing we might want to do is load a collection or create a collection. In this case, I've got a few collections already in place, but rather than click on those, we'll create a new one from scratch. So just creating a new collection, give it a name. We can nominate the default industry for this. You can have projects from multiple industries within the one collection, but typically they're all in one. We can nominate the underlying funding program that this is associated with. And that's it. It's effectively created an empty folder. We've got it up here. It's called our test collection. I might want to change the name of that. I can edit it up here. And there's nothing in it. So we can add a project. So there's an add a project button up here or over on the right. And this is effectively the project survey that we'll click through. You've got to give it a title. You can give it some description. So you've got some metadata. Our default was the cane industry. So we'll go with that. Do a cane project. And we'll just click through the survey down the bottom. So this first page, we've got a series of optional funding areas. So the funding provider, what we put as a default for the collection comes up here, but we can change it at a project level. And you can capture in here funding from the delivery organisation or landholder in terms of cash in kind. And then we step through this series of survey questions. So what we've got here is pages representing kind of collections of activities related to the same types of management practice. And we're trying to represent what's going on now and then what we propose to change. So most of you are very familiar with these survey questions. Yeah. Effectively click through this process. Let's try and make this as snappy as I can. Put some values in here. So by default, everything we put in the before goes to the after. But you can alter those. Snap through these. So I don't know if these answers are being sensible. I'm clicking through to get us the result. So we've clicked through the survey and then we get to the creating the project on the map. So I'm just going to zoom in here. Let's have a project somewhere in this location. So we've got to use this draw polygon tool to draw where our project area is. So let's say it's, and I'm just clicking around here, click on the first one to close the polygon, and I can have multiple polygons to represent a project. So this might be, a farmer with multiple blocks. So let's do that. It's got 2 blocks there. Save and exit. So now it's doing that intersection with the soil, climate, region, and delivery ratio. So based on the questions that I answered there, we're getting no DIN savings. We're getting some fine sediment savings. And in the table below here, we can see our project, what the area of that project is, zeroed in, total fine sediment savings and pesticide saving. And I can click the little button here and expand that project out to see each of the blocks. And if I click on a block here, we can see that it's highlighted. So that's the process of creating a collection, creating a project. And let's go and have a look at another collection now. She's got a few more in it, so that's a bit more interesting. Okay, so I'll zoom out, you can see where that is, the south of Townsville there, west of there. So I've got a project, and I can click on another project, click on it again to unselect it. And as you select these projects, you'll see over on the right, the aggregate result of the selected projects is being represented, and the selected projects are being added and removed to the table below here. You can interact with the table by sorting it up and down to sort those projects. We can zoom in to a spot to any of those projects, so to be able to get a feel for what you're looking at. And we've got this expand. Where are we? Down there. So we can highlight any of those blocks, and that'll be highlighted in the map. So that's kind of an additional or a new feature to be able to get some context between what's going on the table and what's going on the map. So let's have a look at being able to manage projects now as well. So let's have a look at these bulk actions. I'll unselect that one. At a project level, so this project I can expand out, shrink up. I can select two projects here, and I've got some bulk actions. So I can copy those projects, or I can move those projects. So let's do a move. So I click the move, and then from my active collections, I can select another collection. So let's go to my second collection. I'll move those projects. So they're now gone from this collection. And if I go to my second collection, hit select all, those projects will be in here. I can't remember what they're called now. Maybe that was them. Or I can, let's unselect everything. Select that one, and let's move it back to the first collection. Move that back. Go back to the first collection. And here we are. Those projects are back there. Okay, so that's copy, effectively retains it in your collection as well as adds it to the new collection. Move, moves it entirely to the collection. And this third or fourth little element here, plus, allows you to split the project out. So this idea, so I'll turn off this selection. So that project that we've got selected has got two blocks. And we might say, actually, this particular block, we actually want to change and apply a different management practice to this block. So can I just create a project based around this? Right, so that's a split. Project for V2. Yeah. And I can go through and change the survey questions, but I'll just change the name. Right, so now we've just got a project here called Project for V2, and this other project, which was Project 4, so we've been able to split them out. Now, if I want to go and edit the survey around any of the projects, that's a little pencil icon here. will take us back to the survey screen. So that's similar to as it was in the previous version. And you're really just following your nose through and alter any of those questions. And it'll recalculate. What else is useful in terms of the map table interaction? So we've dealt with the batch actions here. Is this little zoom? We'll zoom into the project that you're interested in. So just to be able to find where you are, basically. And what else is useful here? You've got bulk deletes, and you've got individual deletes over here on the table. So let's go back here, select everything. I'll zoom out a bit. You can see that they're all selected there. I'll unselect those. So the project that we just created, I can delete that. So that's, where is it? There. Yep. So that one's gone. Or let's have one where we've got multiple blocks, so we can delete individual blocks as well. Okay. Just going through my list here. Editing on the map. So if we wanted this particular project, I might want to add a block back in that relates to that. So I've just clicked on the edit polygon tool here. And say that same practice change survey, I want to expand it to a secondary block here. That's good. And actually that is drawn pretty poorly. So what I might want to do is edit that. So if I click on the edit, I can modify that polygon. In fact, I might even expand all the way out here. I can save that. And what else do we need to know about the map? Maybe the deleting. So I can delete individual blocks. Remove that one. Go back again. Okay, so that's creating collections, creating projects within collections, editing those projects, editing the surveys, moving them between collections, and copying as well. The other common activity at a collection level, commonly do is to import a collection. So we can, I've got some, here we go. I'll do this spatial file to upload. I'll just show you what that looks like from a, what the attributes look like. So this is the collection I'm going to upload where these purple areas are. And I'll show you what the attributes look like there. What we've got is an attribute called project ID. And what's going to happen is it'll group this project around the project IDs. So let's sort those. So we'll have P2 will have 1, 2, 3, 4 different blocks associated with it. So it's going to group on that import called project ID. And that's the same attribute name that you have for collector app files. So it's effectively how we group collector app files. Okay, so that's the spatial to upload. Upload that. It says, okay, I've find 5 projects. What industry would you like them to be? Sugarcane. That's great. That'll create effectively an empty survey for these projects. Okay, so it's imported those. They're red, and they're red. Select them all, have a look down here. And they're red because the survey is incomplete. And what I've got here is a little spanner. I could go through each one and answer the survey for each one, or I could go through this spanner process and it will step through each of the questions here. I'll click all the way through. I won't answer these completely, but I'll get to the end, and you get to see how this batch process works. So it's done all the questions that are incomplete for that survey, and I can say, okay, I just want to apply those for this particular project, just for the selected project, so that's just the projects that are in the table, or apply those answers for all the projects in the collection. So often if you're importing some spatial files, you go through this process, basically create a template survey that applies to all of them. And what we've got now, so we've got the survey still incomplete because I didn't answer all the questions, but those questions that we answered applied across all of these. So we kind of we're able to do a batch update. So for the common elements of common memory practice across all of those different projects within the collection get applied. Okay, we're doing well. Let's move on to submitting collections. Okay, so over here on the top right, next to your name, you get a drop down, and the top here are the different groups that you're a member of. So I've just created this group called an example training group, and that's where these collections are that we've been looking at. I've created another group, click on that, example training parent group, and it's got nothing in it. We've got no active, no submitted collections, and no collections submitted to me, so it's an empty collection. Nothing up my sleeve. So if we go back to the example training group, have a look at these collections, look at this first collection again, and let's say we want to submit that collection. So across here, collection level activities we can do. So we can rename it, we can make a copy of it, we can delete it, and this little aeroplane means we can submit it. So let's submit that collection to the parent group. So that's the one we click. So it's what's going to be selected, but we could actually select another one from within that group. And the parent to submit to. I've only got one parent identified for this group, so that's the one we've got to submit to. I'll submit it. So now have a look at in the active. It's not in here. My first collection is no longer here. But look under submitted, my first collection is there. And I can have a look at it. So if we go over here, is it editable? I can't edit the project. Now, if I go to the parent group, have a look at what's happened there. In their collection, there's still nothing active, there's still nothing submitted. But in the submitted to me, that parent group has got that first collection. So we've got a read-only copy of those, of that collection in both groups. There we go. So it says edit, but it doesn't. It's really just to be able to look at the project. So I can go and look at each of these questions, but I can't edit them. So we've got a submitted collection and we've got a read-only copy. So I've changed my mind now. In my first collection, I need to update something. So let's go to our submitted collection. I'll make a copy of it because it's read-only. I can't do anything with it in here. I need it to be in my active list. So I go to my active list and I've got this thing called a copy of my first collection. Bit of a dumb name. I'll call it my first collection V2. This selected a project. Sorry, I've got too many things on the screen here. Let's edit a project. Project 4. Give a new name. So I've changed something in that project, and now that's the one I want to submit. I can do that again. My First Collection V2, submit that collection. So what we'll end up with is a big collection of kind of archive things that, you know, a history of what has been selected. So you can manage these if you want to. So this old one, My First Collection, it's no longer relevant because I've got an updated version here. I can remove that. Yep, delete that collection. And if I duck across to that parent group, so I'll do now, see what's been submitted to me. I've got 2 in here, so I've got an updated version. And in the parent group as well, I can do the same thing. I can manage that list so that we don't get carried away with big, long lists of old collections. Okay. I think that's largely everything, but while we're here, let's have just a quick look in Manage Account for anyone who's new to the app. So the Manage Account is a spot where you can change a password. You can change the password at the login point as well if you've forgotten the password. And the groups is a list of the groups that you're a member of. So these are the 2 that we've been playing with today. And this is how we invite new people. Let's do this, test user at true.com. Put their email address in here, and when we click the plus, you get to nominate what their roles are. So we've got a group admin and a group user. So let's say a group user, they can use everything within your group, so they can create collections and projects and edit things, but they can't invite anyone. And a group admin, all the same use rights, but they can also invite people. So let's make this person a group user. They get sent an invite. They'll be orange and the hollow in the little icon here until they've registered. And once they've registered, they'll get filled in to know that they've accepted. And then at any stage, you get sick of them, you can hit the little rubbish bin if you're a group admin, and that'll remove them. And I think that's largely covered. We smashed through that pretty quickly. So I reckon we're good for a Q&A session.